Hello everyone, my name is Michaela Kathleen and I'm here today with a little bookish drinking game. We're gonna play a little bookish Never Have I Ever, which if you have not heard of this is a game in which you say never have I ever done blank, and if you have to take a drink. So feel free to play along with the alcohol of your choice. I've got some wine here. Or if you aren't feeling the alcohol, your favorite non-alcoholic drink, or you can take it old school, high school level, never have I ever, and just hold up your fingers and put one down for any of the things that you've done. But I've collected 20 never have I evers here, so jumping right in. The first one is never have I ever skimmed because a book was so boring. Cheers. So I don't do this often, but I definitely recently, not super recently, last year I did this a lot with the Game of Thrones series. I read the entire Game of Thrones series, and those books are big and dense and boring, and I definitely did some skimming. I tried not to. Number 2 is never have I ever skipped ahead to see what happens. No, definitely have not done this ever. I like to be surprised. I have accidentally seen things ahead of time. You know, eyes kind of just randomly hitting a little further than they're meant to and seeing things. Or, you know, seeing how many pages are left in a chapter and maybe you see something. But I've never purposefully skipped ahead to see what happens. So I'm not drinking. Number 3, never have I ever thrown a book in a fit of rage. And no, again, I don't throw books. I like to keep my books nice, and this sounds like blasphemy to me. Number 4 is never have I ever dropped a book in a bath. And no, I don't really take baths anyways, and I especially would not read in a bath because, again, I'm very careful about my books. I like to preserve them, so never have done this. Number 5, never have I ever drawn on a book. I know I just said that I treat my books nicely, but as a child, I have drawn on books and also used like a little hole punch, but like a shaped hole punch on a children's book. My mom was not very happy. This was when I was very young and she was still kind of the possessor of my books, and so she was not very happy that I did that. But I would never do that nowadays, and I would probably be equally as upset if I had a child who used a hole punch on my books. Number 6, never have I ever met an author. Kind of, mostly. I count it as having met the author in that I asked John Green a question at the end of a panel at NerdCon Stories, in which at the end there was a little Q&A and everyone got to line up and ask a question, and I was one of those people. So that counts, right? I said words to him and he said words back, and it was a darn good question if I do say so myself. It got a big laugh from the room. But moving on, number 7, never have I ever bought 2 copies of the same book. Again, I don't buy multiple copies of books a lot. I'm not really into owning multiple copies in general. I get why some people do it. There are different covers, maybe you want a paperback and a hardback, all sorts of reasons to buy 2 copies of a book, but I try not to do it a whole lot because, I don't know, I want to feel like this is my one special copy in most cases. And then also it just takes up more room on my shelves, which is no good. But I do have a special edition of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, a leather-bound edition. I have 2 copies of the first Harry Potter book, kind of randomly, I don't know why, but I ended up using the newer copy to write in the book, so I guess I have done that as an adult. I used it to make some like word poetry on the pages. I don't know if you've seen that on Instagram, it's a little bit of a thing. But yeah, other than that, I think those might be the only 2 books where I have multiple copies, both Harry Potter books. Number 8, never have I ever pretended to read a book in order to avoid conversation. Big yes here, big yes. I'm quite the introvert, so I read in public a lot to avoid human interaction. Number 9, never have I ever written a book or started writing a book, which yes, I have. I've written 2.5 books. My most recent book, the idea wasn't quite big enough for a book, not quite short enough for a short story, and I've ended up with this weirdly lengthed story. But anyways, so yes, I have written some stuff. None of it is like published, but yeah. Number 10, never have I ever impulse bought a book, and I do this all the time. It's why my TBR is overflowing. Number 11, never have I ever never returned a borrowed book, which no, I don't borrow books much, so this isn't really much of a problem for me, but also I just would not ever steal someone's book. And number 12, never have I ever damaged a borrowed book. Again, no, I'm even more careful with other people's books than I am with my own. So, and again, I like could probably count on one hand the number of times that I've borrowed books. So, number 13, never have I ever read fan fiction. Very little amounts here and there. I'm not super into fan fiction, so I've gotten curious in my life and I've tried to read it, but I've never really gotten into it, so, but I have read a little bit. Number 14, never have I ever written fan fiction. Kind of, I'll explain. I did not know I was writing fan fiction. I've never written fan fiction as like an adult or like with the intent of being like, oh, I am writing fan fiction now. But as a kid, in 4th grade, we had to write in a journal every day. And whenever we had a day without a prompt where we just could free write whatever we wanted, I would always write Dragon Ball Z fan fiction. I was very into Dragon Ball Z as a kid, and yeah, I would write stories with those characters, some made-up characters thrown in. Me and my friends actually played Dragon Ball Z. We would make up characters and pretend to be Dragon Ball Z characters. And so yes, this was technically Dragon Ball Z fanfiction, but I did not know that at the time. Fanfiction was not a term that really existed yet. Me and my friends also played a lot of Harry Potter as kids, but I don't think I ever wrote any stories for that. Number 15, never have I ever pretended to read a book that I didn't actually read. I'm gonna go with no on this one. I mean, I've pretended to read a book that I didn't actually read in the sense of school assigned books. Like, I obviously wasn't going to my teachers and being like, I didn't actually read this, but I don't think that really counts. I think this is like pretending to read a book to like friends or something to sound cool, like, ooh, I've read this very fancy book that you have to be smart to read. Like, I've never done that, so and I think that's what this one was going for. Number 16, never have I ever had a crush on a book character. And this one, I don't know. There are book characters that I like, I guess, but I don't really crush on book characters much. More so like movie and TV characters. There's something there to see. Number 17, never have I ever spoiled a book for someone because they were taking too long to read it. Not purposefully. I did do some spoilers when my boyfriend was reading The Inheritance Cycle last year, I think. But it was never intentional, and it was never like a, you're taking too long to read this, I'm gonna tell you what happens. So I'm gonna go with no. Number 18, never have I ever liked a movie adaptation more than the book. Yes, multiples. The book is not always better, just a lot of the time. Lord of the Rings, I cannot even read those books, they're so boring, but I love the movies. The Hate You Give, I liked the movie better. They changed something at the end that was like a really dramatic thing that then wasn't in the book, so I was disappointed. Those are kind of the two that pop into my head, off the top of my head. But yeah, most of the time the book's better, but not always. Number 19, getting to the end here, never have I ever used a book as a coaster. No. Again, I like to keep my books nice, would never do this. Coasters are coasters, books are not. And finally, the last one, never have I ever wanted to slap a character. There is one that comes to mind right away, and that is Dolores Jane Umbridge. Yeah, Professor Umbridge from Harry Potter might be my most hated character of all time, and I would love to slap her. I'm sure there are others, but she's the one that pops into my head first. So yeah, that was all 20 Never Have I Evers for this game of Never Have I Ever. Let me know down below how many fingers you had to put down, how many drinks you had to take. I hope you enjoyed playing along to this game. And now the quote for today's video. And my quote today is one of my all-time favorites. It's featured in one of my old quotes videos, I'm sure. And it is from the book Inkheart by Cornelia Funk. And it goes, "What on earth have you packed in here? Bricks?" Mo asked as he carried Maggie's book box out of the house. "You're the one who says books have to be heavy because a whole world's inside them," said Maggie. Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.